Hello everyone, welcome to Adira's Easy Talks. Today I have prepared 100 questions on Anglo-Saxon literature. So let's move on. What is the time period of Anglo-Saxon period or literature? That is from 449 AD to 1066 AD. The Angles, Saxons and Jutes came to England in 449 AD. The Saxon came to England from northern Germany. The Anglo-Saxon began to invade Britain in the first half of the 5th century. What was the home to several Celtic tribes? Britain. Why did the Angles, Saxons and Jutes come to England? Because they had heard of the worthlessness of the Britons and the richness of the land. Alfric wrote two non-scientific works. Which are they? Hexameron and Interrogations Singwulf. What is the name of the wall that was constructed by Romans to protect them from pigs and scots? Radiant's Wall. One of the oldest poems, Beowulf, is written by an unknown writer. Beowulf is a poem about the adventures of Beowulf. Beowulf exhibited a complete faith in fate. The monster Grendel appears in the poem Beowulf. What is the oldest English epic poem? Beowulf. Beowulf is based on the story of a monster and King Hrothgar. Which is the oldest Anglo-Saxon biblical poem? It is Exodus. Which is the earliest poem in English literature? It is Beowulf. Which poem depicts mostly the tribal life and rites of ancient days? Beowulf. Name the four surviving manuscripts of Anglo-Saxon period. Junius manuscript, Exeter book, Vercilli book and Nowel Codex. The line came on the dark night gliding, the shadowy prowler had been taken from Beowulf. English literature starts with an epic Beowulf written in West Saxon dialect. Which manuscript contains Alexander's letter to Aristotle? Nowel Codex. Who wrote Ecclesiastical History of the English People? It was written by Venerable Bede in 1731 AD. Bede wrote his Ecclesiastical History in Latin language. The character of Heranda appears in Dior's Lament. The most popular literary form in the Old English period was epic poetry, Bible translations, historical chronicles, riddles, and lyrics. The Dream of the Rood is written in 9th century. It is written by an unknown poet. The original inhabitants of Britain were the Celts. The first German people to invade Britain and settle there was Jutes. Which poem is considered as one of the oldest surviving written texts in English? That is Caedmon's Hymn. King Arthur was the most legendary Celtic king. Which were the main dialects of Old English? Northumbrian, Mercian, Kentish and West Saxon. Which dialect did King Alfred adopt? West Saxon dialect. Name the Anglo-Saxon period poet who produced hymns and verses paraphrases of Old Testament stories in his works. Caedmon. Widsith, Walder, the First at Finnsburg, and the Battle of Maldon are poems of Old English. Who wrote the poem Juliana and the Fates of the Apostle? Cynewulf. Who is the father of Old English poetry? Caedmon. Which Anglo-Saxon kingdom began to dominate in the 800s? Wessex. What did the Anglo-Saxon called Britain? Anglo-land. Who is Dior in the poem Dior's Complaint? A singer. What event brought the end of the Anglo-Saxon rule of England? Norman conquest, and which was on 166 AD. What people began to invade and settle in England in the 800s? That is Danes. Name the most prolific writer of Anglo-Saxon sermons. It is Ælfric. Which poetic device was popular during Anglo-Saxon period? Simile, alliteration, liets, and kennings. What is considered the national epic of England? That is Beowulf. Which king of Wessex defeated the Danes and established a treaty with them? Alfred the Great. Who wrote homilies and lives of saints? Alfred. Who translated Bede's history into English in Anglo-Saxon period? King Alfred. King Alfred became the king of Wessex in 871 AD. The first English public school were founded by King Alfred. King Arthur the Great tried to stop the Danish invasion. How many lines are there in the poem Bitsit? There are 150 lines. The most vividly known prose writer of Anglo-Saxon period was King Alfred. Poetry of Anglo-Saxon was passed down through what means? Oral tradition. Don't believe in God and religion as a characteristic of pagan literature. Harold, the last of the Saxon king, defeated in the Battle of Hastings. The Battle of Hastings is otherwise called as the Norman Conquest and which was on 166 AD. The Anglo-Saxon age was replaced by a ruling government of Normans. What is the genre of the poem Seafarer? It is an elegy written in 124 lines. The Lays of Boethius is a wisdom poem written by King Alfred, who is known as the Anglo-Saxon militant. It is Caedmon. Which Old English poet was an illiterate peasant? It is Caedmon. Who spread Christianity in Anglo-Saxon period? St. Augustine. When was England completely Christianized? In the 6th century. Alfred King died in 901 AD. A written literature began to evolve in Britain with the coming of the Christian churches. Praises of Virginity has been written by Aldam, a Latin poet. Name the king who inspired the writing of Anglo-Saxon Chronicle. King Alfred. Alfred the Great managed to unify Britain temporarily by defeating the Danes. The father of English prose is King Alfred the Great. Who initiated Anglo-Saxon Chronicle? King Alfred. The most important religious poet of Anglo-Saxon period, Caedmon and Cynewulf. What is Anglo-Saxon Chronicle? It is the first historical document record of the Britain in English language and it covers the history of Britain from its pagan times to 1100 AD. One of the principal functions of Anglo-Saxon is from recite songs and tales. What did Anglo-Saxon value equal to fighting, hunting and farming? Storytelling. Who were the storytellers in Anglo-Saxon period? Scopes. Name the writer of Universal History of Orosius. King Alfred. Which country did the Anglo-Saxon from? England. In what way the stories of the Anglo-Saxons were preserved? They were memorized and retold by poets. They were written by monks and these poets are called scopes. Old English was a Germanic language. Who wrote the Consolation of Philosophy of Boethius? King Alfred. A remarkable map of the world is included in the text, The Wonders of the East, in Nowel Codex. Bede's Death Song is a poem by Bede. What was the number of accented beats in Old English poetry? 4. The language of the church in Anglo-Saxon England was Latin. Who is called as the father of English history? Bede. And who is called as the father of English religious poetry? It is Caedmon. Which author of Anglo-Saxon period translated many books from Latin into Old English? It is King Alfred. What was the Seafarer, the Wife's Complaint, the Husband's Message, and the Wanderer? These are the poems of Old English literature. Deor's Lament belongs to Old English period. The Deor's Lament expresses the failure of human relations. Heroes of Anglo-Saxon literature were the kings and chiefs. Hymns of creation, Judith, the paraphrase, Genesis, and the fall of man are the works of Caedmon. Christ and Satan is a poem from Junius manuscript. Cynewulf wrote in Northumbrian dialect. The first known poet in the English language is Caedmon. Christ, Juliana, Elena, and Fates of Apostles are the works of Cynewulf. I am old, I'll not go away, but plan to lie down by the side of my Lord, by the man so dearly loved. These lines are from the poem Battle of Maldon. Andreas, Elaine, Guthlac, and Juliana are Christian poems about saints' lives. Which manuscripts of Anglo-Saxon period contain biblical paraphrase? It is Junius manuscript and Nowel Codex. Which manuscript of Anglo-Saxon period has a collection of 95 riddles? It is the Exeter. I endured much hardship upon that hill. I saw the god of hosts stretched out cruelly. Darkness had covered with clouds the body of the Lord, the bright radiance. A shadow went forth, dark under the heavens. All creation wept, mourned the death of the king. Christ was on the cross are the lines from Dream of the Rood. So thank you.